never seen myself as just one thing, and I made sure no one else could either. By staying true to myself, making my own path, rising above expectations, and opening the door for others to be their true selves. The first spirit, made with VSOP Cognac, finished in bourbon casks, Martell Blue Swift, soar beyond the expected.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome. I am 𝐿𝐿uminati. This is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. You know, it wouldn't be any show without my friends at Martell Cognac, my friends at Massey Connoisseur, and I'm having, the regular Blue Swift VSOP, aged to perfection, that golden beauty. And this evening, we will be talking about fiat money. Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. But before we get there, we got to do some housekeeping. I've been missing. I want to let you guys know, because I realize a lot of you all are watching, but you're not liking, right? So I need you all to go like, share, subscribe. I'm very, very excited by the growth I'm seeing. Welcome all 1,170 of you guys. It's a pleasure to see you all. Go share the podcast with your friends. We need more people here, right? That's one thing. Next thing, I am not a financial advisor. Nothing that I share here with you guys any evening should be misconstrued as financial advice. No one of my guests should be misconstrued as giving financial advice as well. I'm going to give you that disclaimer on their behalf right now, right? This is all about the ice rule. You know how we drink our yak on the rocks. So it's all about information, get the mic on, conversation, and as always, a little bit of education. Me educate you, you educate me. We have a dope conversation, and hopefully our bulbs are burning brighter at the end of the show, right? So recently we've been kind of delving into the whole origins of Bitcoin. We've been talking about Bitcoin. We've been learning about Bitcoin, and I'm not an alcoholic. I just love me some yak, yo. I don't drink anything else really. I mean, I do drink other things. I drink some wine here and there, but that's beside the point. Any given day that I could get some yak into my system is a good day. But stop distracting me, man. So recently we've been talking a lot about Bitcoin, its origins, cryptocurrencies, the whole idea of a decentralized monetary system. But why are we even talking about that? How did we even get here? Don't we have money already? Why wouldn't we just continue to use the money that we have all the time? Isn't that working? A lot of criticisms around Bitcoin, around cryptocurrencies, especially recently, people have been saying, crypto have no real value. They have no intrinsic value. And there is this perception that our existing money, fiat currency, has some intrinsic value itself. So today we're going to talk about fiat, not the car brand, right? Because, unless you're Italian, I ain't really know that anybody trying to talk about that, right? We're going to be talking about fiat currency, what it means, what it's all about, some questions that people generally have around it. And yeah, we're gonna chop it up. We're gonna have a little fun. Y'all seen my bird there? Right, we're gonna fly high, we're gonna have a good time. So straight off the bat, what is fiat currency, right? So fiat money or fiat currency is government issued currency that is not backed by a physical commodity such as gold or silver or oil or anything, but rather by the government that issues it. So fiat is actually a Latin word that actually means by decree. So in its very name, it gives you some understanding of what it is all about. So last year, no, not 20, was it 2022, maybe 2021, El Salvador would have made Bitcoin legal tender in its country, right? And by decree, they would have made Bitcoin legal money to be used across El Salvador, which I guess made Bitcoin, in its strictest definition, a form of fiat currency in El Salvador, right? Because that is all it really takes for a currency to be determined to be fiat currency, right? And now this idea of fiat currency, especially how we interpret it right now, we believe that, this has always been the case. And like we've explained before, as we talked about, the various principles of money and the history of money, we've talked about this idea that fiat currency has always been how we interacted with and understood money. But the fact of the matter is that fiat is a relatively new idea, a relatively new concept in human understanding of money. And it actually originated not in Western society, but it actually originated in China back in the 10th century, right? During the Yuan, the Tang, and the Ming dynasty. And basically, it came into being because there was a high demand for metallic currencies, so gold, silver, copper, but the demand exceeded the supply of those precious metals. So the people started using paper to represent the value of those precious metals. And well, the society had already been used to using like credit notes and to establish like who owed who what and that kind of thing. So it was relatively easy for them to transition to accepting pieces of paper or paper drafts, right? Now, it wasn't until the 18th century where the West started to use fiat currency or paper money, right? And that started happening in the American colonies, in France, and basically the Continental Congress started issuing bills of credit that were used to make payments. And some other regions in the US, for example, New England, the Carolinas, they started using fiat currency as a means to, I guess, supplement or to offset the commodity prices, right? Because commodities like gold and silver. So America particularly has had, and Europe and some of these other places have had different forms of paper money, right? They've had commodity backed currency and they've had strict fiat currency. And the US dollar, as we know it, has been both a commodity backed currency as well as how it currently operates as a fiat only currency, right? And that kind of happened in the 20th century after the Civil War, when the government of the United States, after the American Civil War that is, needed funds to rebuild the economy, right? And then we had the Bretton Woods Agreement, which we've talked about previously, where it fixed the value of $1 to 1 troy ounce of gold, right? Actually, not $1, $35 to 1 troy ounce of gold. However, in 1971, Richard Nixon, the then president of the United States, introduced a series of economic measures that basically canceled the direct convertibility of dollar to gold, right? So you could no longer just redeem your US dollars for gold. And I want to just show you all what this looked like. So I don't know if you guys can see there, but the area here, where you see the blue stamp, back in the day, the US dollar was actually a silver certificate, right? So this basically said that you can convert one US dollar for its equivalent in silver, right? That's how it was. And even the US $10,000 bill, which is not in wide circulation. I don't know if it's in circulation anymore. I've never seen a $10,000 bill physically. I've seen a $1,000 bill. One of my friends, his uncle has a collection, and he actually has a $1,000 bill. I have not seen one in real time. But this $10,000 bill actually states, if you look above the B there, it states redeemable in gold on demand at the United States Treasury, or in gold or lawful money at any Federal Reserve Bank, right? So you see here that at one point in its history, the US dollar was a commodity-backed currency. It was you could have directly converted your US dollars for gold or silver. However, after Nixon removed, that, the US dollar became what it now stands as today, as a fully fiat currency, right? Now, what does that even mean? I said we're going to talk a little bit about fiat currency, how some of the concerns, some of the questions people have around it, and we're gonna jump straight into that. So, shout out to everybody in the comments. Steven, my man, is here. Pause. Anyway, what is fiat currency, or what gives fiat currency its value? So the value, as I said, of fiat currency is primarily based on the trust and confidence in the government that issues it, as well as the overall stability of the economy. Now, when we look at currencies around the world, the reason the US dollar is as dominant as it is, in addition to the fact that all gold is traded in US dollars, which adds to the stability of the US economy, in addition to the fact that the US has one of the largest militaries in the world and can defend itself against most superpowers or mini powers in any case. One of the major things that has led to the strength of the US dollar has had to do with the confidence in their government. America has been a democratic republic for over 200 years, democratically elected government, and has been that way for many years, right? So there's been a level of stability. The government has continually paid its debts, and as a result, people have continued to trust that this would continue to happen, right? In addition to that, the economy has been the largest economy in the world for some time, and all of those things add to the trust that people place in that currency. Now, as we go through some of the other questions, concerns, elements, you're going to see why some of that trust is being eroded at this time, right? Now, what happens if a government prints too much fiat currency? So there's been a lot of talk about the money printer go brrr, and that has basically encouraged the price of commodities to skyrocket. I mean, gold is hitting all-time highs, and we're seeing cryptocurrencies also going up in prices, real estate going up in prices, luxury watches going up in prices. And that's because people are scrambling to find different tools to retain the value of their money as the government introduces more and more currency into the market. Now, if the government creates an excessive amount of money, it can erode the value of the currency and lead to rising prices for goods and services, i.e., inflation. Right? Now, we've discussed this before, but I'm going to say it again. If there are $100 bills in the economy that have to buy 100 items in the economy, if you put another $100 into the economy that have to buy the same 100 items in the economy, there is going to be greater pressure or greater demand for those items. And basically, if you do the easy math, each of those items now would be valued at $2, right? The same amount of items, more money in the system. And that is where some of the biggest concerns come from, because if you were saving your $1 or $2 in the bank, hoping to be able to buy one or two of those items down the road, now with the introduction of this next set of currency into the market, that dollar that you were holding to buy that one item can no longer fulfill its function to be able to buy that particular item. Prices go up. Now, can fiat currency become worthless? Now, we always hear the naysayers, the TradFi guys saying, crypto going to zero, crypto going to zero. But is it possible for fiat currencies to go to zero? Yes, we've seen it. We've maybe not zero immediately, but we've seen them lose significant amounts of their value. Now, if you look at the picture above me, that is from Venezuela, which is right next door to us here in Trinidad and Tobago, where their currency became so devalued that it was more valuable for people to use the currency, the paper notes, for arts and craft, to make bags, to make purses, so that they could then sell them for money that was actually worthwhile, right? So there is a possibility that fiat currency could lose all its value, especially in situations of economic crisis and hyperinflation. Too much money printed into the system all at once, increasing the money supply in the economy too quickly, prices skyrocket, prices go through the roof. Hyperinflation, we've seen it in Venezuela, we've seen it in Lebanon, we've seen it in Zimbabwe, and I guess it is a scary thing for people to wake up one day and know that all their life savings have basically disappeared, lost all value. We've seen elements of it in Argentina. So yeah, the math's not mathsing, so the money had to start craftsing. Arts and crafts, Stephen, I mean, Is what is being shown here. This is arts and crafts, men using the bands to make bags and purses to sell down the road. It's facts. I know me says so. Are there alternatives to fiat currency? I mean, I don't know how many of you are old enough to know about Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, the Highlander. There can be only one, right? All currencies are not created equal. You're big and you have sense. That's all I say. And even calling its name, you're big and you have sense, right? So you figure it out. But yes, there are alternatives to fiat currency, right? There are decentralized currencies like you're big and you have sense, right? Say no more. Now, how does the central bank control fiat currency? This is something people always want to know. People like, yeah, but how did this actually print the money? How does it print the money? So central banks basically monitor the amount of money in the economy by measuring the monetary aggregates, which basically is a big term to say all the money that is out there in the public domain, right? Consisted of cash and bank deposits. Now, money creation occurs when the quantity of the monetary aggregates increase. Now, there are a few ways that this happens. And while central banks do actually create new money, technically, most of the new money created in an economy is done so by the commercial banks, by them using the deposits as a reserve and loaning out a multiple of that money. So, for example, we've talked about this before. For every dollar that is deposited, a commercial bank who is required to hold a reserve of 10% can now loan out 90 cents of that dollar, right? And what that does is basically put $9 new into the market for that dollar, right? The central bank is able to manage that using different things like, interest rates and stuff like that, selling and buying treasury bills and stuff like that, taking liquidity out of the market or putting liquidity into the market. When they put liquidity into the market, it encourages the banks to loan more money, therefore increasing the money supply. When they start buying up those things, it reduces the amount of liquidity in the market, reducing the ability of banks to loan and increase the money supply, right? Yeah, these days them banks looking shaky. Balance. Now, what are the risks of using fiat currency? Now, everybody and their mother could tell you what are the risks of cryptocurrency, and they always want to talk about it, right? Every single minute of every day, they want to talk about it. But there are some risks of using fiat currency. Now, some of these include the potential for counterfeiting, the potential for currency devaluation, like we talked about, the potential for loss of purchasing power over time, and of course, the vulnerability to economic and political fluctuation, right? What does that mean? Something happens in a country that destabilizes the government. All of a sudden, the trust that was placed in that government and the currency by extension is impacted, is affected, right? So, and well, counterfeiting is a no-brainer. I would add to this money laundering. We all know that cash is the number one and has always been the number one tool for laundering money in the world, because there's no way to track it. There's no way of telling who held the dollar bill that is in your pocket right now and who held it before them and who held it before them, right? And who's going to hold it next? We don't know. there's no way for tracking it, right? So money laundering, and we could add to that terrorism financing, arms dealing. I mean, most nefarious activities in the world are transacted via cash, right? So that's immediately a risk. At the end of the day, you might receive funds from someone totally innocently, and that could be proceeds from a robbery, proceeds from a bank robbery, proceeds from the sale of illicit drugs, as the case may be. So I always tell people, keep that same energy with all the criticisms that you have for crypto, for Bitcoin, for all the new technologies around finance. Hold the same energy for the existing system and take them to task, ask them the same hard questions, because I am not against asking hard questions to the crypto space. I just say, you know what, keep that same energy. Energy. Stephen is real Jones, Stephen said people only use fiat for illegal activities and side chicks. I like how you add the side chicks. So anybody who using cash, Stephen, is either illegal or side chicks. Wow, rough. Now, are there alternatives to the current fiat monetary system? Like I said before, all you big and all you have sense. Because what we've seen over time is the fluctuation. Now we always talk about Bitcoin being volatile, cryptocurrencies being volatile, but what we've not paid enough attention to as a society, not us here, because we be paying attention, right? Because we in this space. But the loss of economic value in some of the fiat currencies, the US dollar particularly, and every single currency that is pegged or tied to the US dollar. So you're saying you're in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't care about the US dollar losing value, buddy. TT dollar is tied to the US dollar. If in Barbados, Bajan dollar is tied to the US dollar. If in Jamaica, woo, buddy, you don't know. So don't think that because you don't reside in that country that the devaluation of the US dollar does not affect you, right? No. Let me see if I could I did a dopey thing there and hide the information that I really want to pull up. But basically, if you look at that picture behind the writing, a dollar's worth purchasing power of the US dollar over time. Now in 1920, the US dollar, you could have basically bought $26.14 worth of items, purchasing power. Now, by the time it was the 1930s, that had dropped to $19. By the time we got to the 70s, that was getting you only $6 worth of the same goods. By the 2000, that was $1.61, right? And where we at right now, what we can get for $1 now, what we would have been able to get 100 years ago was 26 times that. So let's look forward 100 years. That's 2 generations, right? Let's say the money has devalued 26 times again. What does that look like? Just think about that. The house that you are scraping to buy now for $1 million, imagine that being worth $26 million 100 years from now. Now, 100 years sounds like far, right? But your parents, maybe in their 60s and their 70s, their parents would have had them in their 30s. Their parents, your grandparents would have been born around that time. So so just think about that. The house that your grandparents could have bought, it would cost you at least 26 times what they would have paid for it, right? So the house that our parents may have bought for $100,000 is now worth $2.6 million, and that's real. That not even that wouldn't even surprise anybody right now. So the house has $1 million now. Your grandkids, you think they're gonna be able to pay $26 million for it, knowing that income is not growing at the same pace as inflation is? It's a scary, scary, scary idea, but closing your eye to it doesn't change the facts around it, right? It doesn't make it less scary, right? So that's why we have to be having these conversations. That's why we have to open our eyes. That's why we have to be looking at alternative ways of preserving our purchasing power for not just ourselves and in our futures, but our kids, our grandkids. Is it worthwhile saving in fiat currency? You want to put on $100,000 for your grandkids? What is that going to be worth 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now when they're ready to use that to buy a home at 0.01% interest in the bank? What do you think? They might have one like 110,000. You think they'll be able to buy a house, down payment on a house in 26 years, 30 years? Like I say, all you're big and all you have sense. And the B is for big. That's an inside Caribbean joke. Steven, stop it, eh? Stop it. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I have for you this evening. Steven, tell me, you have anything you want to add besides telling people about BTC? We're not telling them anything. We're just today we only talking about fiat, right? Because everybody big and they have sense. We've talked about it here before, and our job is not to give nobody financial advice. Our job is to make people aware, information, conversation, education, right? And if you like it, go like it. If you like it, subscribe to it. If you like it, share it, right? Every Thursday, we right here. We are coming down to the crunch time. It's crazy. Episode 28, which means we only have 29. And then season finale. What are we going to do for the season finale? I want to give away some crypto, maybe some NFTs. I have to talk to my accountant. I'll see, if we have any dust, it's a bear market, but, free bags, we had to give away something. Right? So, you see the effing fiat is for failure. But yeah, we are coming to the end of another season. I'm very, very excited. Not because it's coming to an end, but because on the other side of that is season 4. We have some amazing, amazing, amazing things for season 4. I'm so excited, right? So go and tell a friend to tell a friend. Head down to Massey. Get yourself some Martel Cognac And yeah, because we're gonna have a time next week, and especially the week after that, we're gonna have a time, another successful season in the bag, 2 more episodes. Wow, it's been a journey, guys. As always, thank you for being here with me. You know how I feel about this thing. There is no question in my mind that adoption is inevitable. On which side of the adoption curve do you want to be? You want to be an early adopter? You want to be a early majority? You want to be a late majority? You want to be a lagger? You decide. But I'm telling you, it's coming. This wave is coming. I appreciate you guys as always for being with me. Stephen, Twilly, I'm not seeing who are the other people in the chat, unfortunately, but shout out to everybody for taking the time. Shout out to you for watching this replay. We love you guys. Be blessed. Illuminati out.